For our final project in our EMAC 23-22 class, we decided to do a video project, and we wanted to interview the advisor of EMAC, our professor, our TA, and a few students to get an overall vibe of what they thought the class was about, what they enjoyed most, what shocked them the most, just a few basic questions. Julie, if you could tell us what EMAC stands for and what the program's really all about.
Yeah, sure. So EMAC stands for Emerging Media and Communication, and our program really looks at creating media and various types of content for the Web 2.0 environment. So social media, blogging, internet video, mobile video, writing for the web, and really making sure that our students are transmedia literate.
All right, if you could just give me a quick overview for everyone who doesn't know what EMAC 23-22 is all about.
It's one of the introductory courses to the major, and EMAC 23-22 is sort of designed to be an introduction to the concepts of like media theory and basically how having the internet changes our culture. So everything from how searching for information changes when you have the internet, to issues of copyright, to issues of how do you read and have attention on the internet, to social networking, to privacy. So the sort of range of issues and cultural impacts that the internet has, and sort of introduce students to that broad range of issues.
All right, and during the course semester, what did you learn either from the class or outside of the class that really, I guess, interested you the most?
I think one thing that I found in teaching the emerging media course, so this is the second semester that I've taught the class because we've had 2 semesters of students now, the major has been around for a year, is how engaged the students can be if you give them power to be engaged about it. You know, I think we're used to, as professors, just assigning the syllabus from the start, but what I've discovered is by making the syllabus a wiki and letting all the students sort of edit it and contribute to it, me setting it up and then letting students edit and contribute to it, they're much more likely to take ownership of the material and share the information and become invested in the class. So the different ways in which students become invested and the level in which they become invested is always nice to see in that class.
And like what examples, I guess, would be a good example of that?
Well, there's several students who would find videos or things during the week that would relate to class, and so they'd either send them out on Twitter or they'd put them up on the wiki, or in the last weeks of class when we had students take over the readings, and a lot of students were finding readings of things that I had never seen or never read before about their objects, and I ended up learning from those objects. And I think those group presentations, students for each group ended up learning a lot about that subject matter in a way that you wouldn't learn if you just sort of had the readings assigned for you by the professor.
Okay, and I know it's early, we just finished the semester, but what changes could you see farther down the line?
I think one of the things that I sort of discovered in the teaching of it this semester was how familiar the internet is to students now. When I first started teaching this subject matter, the internet was sort of new and crazy, and so everything that we would talk about in class students hadn't seen before. And now I think students that come to the EMAC classes, you know, almost all of them are on Facebook, most of them have heard of Twitter, they've all used Google for most of their life, and so presenting some historical context for that might be better. I might add in some readings that are about the history of the internet that sort of show how it developed since the 60s or the 70s, you know, because we tend to think of it as new, and to give students a historical perspective about how new those objects are, to sort of make them unfamiliar in a way. And in between the 2 semesters, I taught in the fall and I taught in the spring, I made a couple of changes, and I think we'll continue, although I'm not teaching it next semester, I think continue to sort of change a little bit those things. So like, for example, the first time I did it, students taught for a week. So the group that was responsible for Google would do a week on Google. And this semester they went to just one day, and I think that one day worked better. They were still all bunched at the end of the class, and I think maybe in future semesters spreading those out, like after week 7, sort of integrating them one group at a time rather than having the last 2.5 weeks be group presentations might work a little better. and maybe providing a little more guidance on those presentations. Although I think that the presentations went really well this time. That was like one of the most pleasing parts of teaching the class is how good all the in-class presentations were. Because usually I think students hear in-class presentations and they get bored by the other students presenting and they don't want to do it themselves. But in this time it seemed like most groups were really invested in it and they were really good presentations. So.
And how do you feel about the curriculum, like when it comes to Web 3.0? Like, how much will you be able to add?
Add to the overall EMAC curriculum or that class?
I guess that class.
Well, that class will always serve as an introduction, so I think that it will, need to sketch the historical issues of the internet, but also, in the end, talk about the contemporary and evolving issues of the internet. And I think that might be another way that the class changed a bit. We didn't, until the last ends of class, start talking about geolocation and mobile, and I think there might need to be a little bit more of that in the class. But there's always room to sort of say what's the contemporary issues on the net, and then contextualize them and how they came to be and looking at the sort of long history of those. And then in terms of the overall curriculum of EMAC, I think that's the way that the curriculum is designed, where we'll always both look at what's new and emerging right now, the 3.0 or the semantic web or the mobile web, whatever everybody's talking about, but also look at how that came to be through sort of the long history of the internet or media in general.